So today's the third day of Tevis, the third day of January.
When's the fast?
10th. So I don't know when that comes.
Oh, it's a Friday fast.
No, it's Thursday.
Yeah, you're right. Thursday.
Okay. So now, if we really want to understand this, I mean, we'll revisit it when we get to Tefillin. But really, he doesn't explain this. I went over it again yesterday. He doesn't explain it here well enough. He sort of leaves it as there are these divisions occur through the tips of the hairs of Ari Chanpin, striking Zeir Anpin from behind. This is the secret of Guardian of Israel. Right? Right. So we talked about this yesterday. This sentence needs to be explained a little bit more, and he doesn't do it here. So I really did more research yesterday, trying to get some kind of handle on this. And the Alter Rebbe somewhere else says, he says something very intriguing. He says that striking has a very specific meaning in Kabbalah. It's like you have to think about, like, in their world, a blacksmith was something that you saw daily. We don't see so much of that.
A Makaba Pop is just not something we see on a
right.
daily basis.
And Makaba, right? They saw a lot of striking going on.
Yes.
We hardly see that. And even if you're working in some kind of labor-intensive work today, machines do the striking, and you don't see it. It's not.
I never thought
by them
striking was something that was very evident. Yeah.
So by them, something striking something else was very, very like common, and they understood it meant, and it usually meant that you were fashioning something, that you were giving it some kind of shape. So it was like either breaking something apart or giving the final form to something, shaping something. And that's what he means, and that's what he usually means in Kabbalah. Two things strike one another.
Connotation of that,
right?
As a violence.
Right, right. They have it as a form of building something, as a form of. I mean, we get upset when we hear drilling sounds. Like we're like, why are you ruining my day? They felt that this was part of building up something. That's how they looked at it. So there's something being built here. When these hairs strike and so why are they even striking? What's the idea here? So I said, like, if you move them up, if you move your hand up and down, that you feel some tingling. It's like something like that. But that's not good enough. The way he's really seeing this, and we'll see this more when we get to the Tefillin, is that he's saying that they're like transparencies one on top of another. So you have to think of Zah as a small countenance as being something inside, and Arich, the crown, fitting over it like a transparency. And so when it fits over it, it's like striking it. It's giving it some kind of shape. So what does that translate into? It translates. The Alter Rebbe says this in one place. He says it's giving it words. It's giving it form. It's giving it arguments. In other words, the young person doesn't have at their disposal the logic that would go into being more complacent, more calm, more tolerant. Their mind is not yet thinking that way. It's more guided by the emotions, right? And the language is not developed yet. So it's really all about languages. So he says, the Alter Rebbe says, that it's giving it variations or permutations. He says tzirufim. It's giving it tzirufim. It says all these short hairs, what they are like is, again, every hair is considered to be some kind of conduit of mind matter. It's taking it out and bringing it somewhere else. And when you have a lot of short hairs, it's like that. It's not a full sentence. It's just a word, let's say, or even sometimes maybe just a syllable. And these, when you move your hand over them, or however the striking actually occurs, doesn't really matter. They're giving these permutations to the younger mind. It's giving it this. You have to speak a lot and you have to say many, many different variations on the same theme until the person begins to speak that language and understands it. And even when we think about the things that we've been told, we need to rehash them many, many times in our mind until we get the right permutation, the right variation, the right way of saying things, and being able to exercise our intellect to be able to tolerate things. All kinds of things that we say to ourselves and we say to others. And so that's the way he sees this. That this is giving the younger mind, the Zah, it's giving it these thoughts, it's giving it these sentences, these words, and it's permuting them. It's giving it a way to work with it. So it's almost like, again, when you think of a blacksmith who's like striking on a piece of hot metal to try to give it form, that's what this is envisioned as. And then, instead of there being only emotions, loving kindness and might in the heart, there begins to be a representation of the emotions in the mind, so that the mind can deal with these emotions. And in the same way that we say that our brain has a representation, let's say, of our hand in it, and we can move our hand and sense things and understand things and put them in context because we have a representation in our mind. So the same thing needs to happen for the heart. The mind has to build a representation. It doesn't come with it. That's the main point. It's not innate. Innately, there is some kind of control over it, but again, Amalek can attack it very easily, and you have to build more and more representation so that eventually, instead of feeling the emotion, you think about it. And that he says is the only way that you can guide the heart for real, because the heart is much stronger than the mind, really. Meaning the emotions are much stronger. The emotions are much stronger, really, than the mind. They'll overpower you, and that's what the Amalek takes advantage of. So to be able to counter that, to be able to guide the emotions, you have to build a stronger and stronger representation in the mind of what these emotions are, and then be able to work with them in the mind instead of working with them in the heart.
One example.
So it would be like saying that when if somebody insults me, right? So I'm overpowered by the feeling of being pained and hurt, and so if I leave it in the heart, there's probably no way that I can really tolerate it or assimilate it into myself or deal with it in some way. I'll lash out back. But if I have a representation in my mind, so right away I take this and I say, so what is this what does this mean? What they just told me, first of all, is there a truth to it?
You mean where you have a control? I understand.
I'm processing it intellectually. Now, this doesn't mean that the heart's not going to be in pain, but it's been much, much less.
Yeah.
And my reaction will be guided by my mind, not by my heart.
Right.
But for that, I need a very strong representation of my emotions in my mind. If I don't have that representation, I can't do that analysis or that...
representation, can you think of a different word? I know what you're trying to say. A child only feels...
Right. You feel it here.
Right.
You have to be able to think it here.
Okay. Well, that's a transitional...
تدخيل, yeah.
That's acquired through maturation. I don't know if there's a...
Right, so we're saying that this is acquired by speaking more and more and more and more.
I got you. Now okay. Yes.
So these are really like...
Oh, that speaking gives a
shards
control over the...
Right.
Right.
So these words that Arich is saying, or letters even sometimes he says, they create this possibility of permutations of language that can then...
Oh,
you have
Kaddish?
Kaddish?
Not for me, for a friend. He asked me last
Okay, go ahead. Okay, so we'll continue with this next week.